Senior petroleum analyst for Enpro International. He joins us now on the line from Burlington, Ontario. Roger, good morning. What more can you add about what was happening on this oil rig yesterday?
Seems kind of strange to me that you'd use a welding torch to cut an oil line. Sort of an indication of possibly a wildcat operation with very little supervision. Fortunately, there was it was a dry well. They were taking a shot at it and it ended up dry. So at least we're not having the BP problem that we had in 2010. That seems to have been financially settled, though I'm not really sure I agree with the number.
So no fire and no spill from this rig.
That's right, that's right.
Well, let's talk about the BP settlement that you mentioned just a moment ago. This week, of course, British Petroleum agreed to pay the U.S. government $4.5 billion to resolve the government's case against BP for the massive 2010 oil spill in the Gulf. The government describes that $4.5 billion settlement as, quote, the largest total criminal resolution in the history of the United States, and the $1.3 billion in fines that are part of that settlement describe that as the largest criminal penalty ever in U.S. history. Roger, these are huge numbers to most of us. How big, though, is $4.5 billion to an oil company like British Petroleum?
Well, but British Petroleum, BP, they made a profit of $25 billion last year, so it's really, I hate to say it, a bit of a drop in the bucket, which really doesn't help the families of the people that actually died in that incident. At least we didn't have to wait 10 years like the Exxon Valdez situation. But from what I can see, the $4.5 billion is only the tip of the iceberg, because then we're going to get into civil suits, which could probably triple that amount, but it could take about 10 to 15 years to come to a settlement.
A recent book describes corporations like British Petroleum with their massive amount of wealth as being practically sovereign states. What do you think this says, this settlement of $4.5 billion, say about the power of any government, even a government as powerful as the United States, when it has to go up against corporations like BP?
Yes, but what's the alternative? That's the question I have to ask of you. Do you want to turn into a Mexican government-run operation, Pemex, or do you want to turn into the Venezuelan situation? They're both basket case scenarios as far as energy is concerned. Pemex is actually retreating insofar as its crude oil production is concerned, and Venezuela is Venezuela. They're not exactly the great friends of the government. I wouldn't want the government to get involved in the oil industry. It's just that government does government, oil industry does the oil industry.
Nonetheless, there's this perception by many people that corporations like British Petroleum pretty much dictate the rules.
Well, they dictate the rules, but it's a question of supply and demand. Gasoline and diesel is sacred to the consuming public in North America and around the world. So you can't have your cake and eat it as well. The oil industry is very, very complicated. It's very, very high risk, both financially and as we can see, ecologically as well. So I just can't see there being any alternative whatsoever.
So you're saying oil spills in the future will simply be part of the rules of engagement, and $4.5 billion settlements will simply be the cost of doing business?
Well, the image of a conventional oil, you just put a shovel in the ground and you get oil, is a thing of the past, because the oil that you're getting right now, you're going down 5,000 feet below sea level to try and find it. So and you have you got the shale oil situation. Once the EPA gets a hold of that, they're going to start squawking that it's environmentally unfriendly. So the oil companies are between a rock and a hard place.
Bottom line, this $4.5 billion settlement, you think, is just as you put it, a drop in the bucket?
I'm afraid so.
Roger McKnight, Senior Petroleum Analyst for Enpro International. Roger, thanks a lot for talking to us.
You're very welcome.